there, comic friends. I'm Travis. It's time for another edition of Monster Comic Reviews. Let's jump right into the book. These are books for the, let's say, second week of March? Sure, sounds good. Let's go with that. 2014. Jump right into it. Forever Evil Arkham War. Did not like it. Still don't like it. Go watch my other reviews about it. I'm not going to take any more time to talk about it, other than it just is kind of pointless and stupid and who cares at this point, and painful to read. So there's that. End of Gothtopia, Batman Detective Comics issue number 29. Another relatively disappointing read. Basically, this issue is a bunch of tell us stuff, not show us anything. Is the large majority of it. There could have been cool character moments and character beats in here. Towards the end, there's a discussion between Catwoman and Batman, and it is kind of cheesy at best. In addressing their relationship or their potential relationship or what was kind of maybe there or whatever. Just kind of dumb in my opinion about how it was played out. Pretty dissatisfying. The whole Gothtopia thing was, I don't know what. I don't know who came up with the idea, who let it go, who was asleep at the wheel, just whatever. Looking forward to the new creative team that's going to be on the book going forward. Hopefully they'll do something special. There were some moments where the John Layman and Jason Frabach stories were good. There were some interesting stories, but as a whole, this is not going to be very memorable. Other than the Gothtopia thing will probably be memorable just because it was not good. Okay, Captain America issue number 18. We get some more of Mind Bubble here messing with people. We get an explanation of who he is, how he works, that sort of a thing as Captain America and Falcon try to get closer to whatever S.H.I.E.L.D. has been hiding. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s hiding some nasty something. We find out here it's like an Uber helicarrier that's like the size of a city, and it's going to be devastating. It's in the hands of the wrong people. All hell's going to break loose unless Cap can figure out how to stop it from happening, I guess. Not very excited by this issue. I feel like I'm starting to read Captain America stories, and I guess I'm not that interested in Captain America stories. I want there to be some different struggle. I want there to be something more to it, not as simple as he's the American hero and he's going to jump down in and save the day. I don't care for that. My other problem is the other part of this has to do with S.H.I.E.L.D., and I'm not a big S.H.I.E.L.D. fan either. I just don't really care that much about S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm sure there can be interesting written stories and whatnot. I know that when Steranko did S.H.I.E.L.D. way back, that was some cool looking stuff and some interesting takes on things, and that's okay. But this modern era of S.H.I.E.L.D. just doesn't interest me. So my interest in this book is very minimal. The only thing that holds me on to the thing is Jet Black. So I'll be looking a little harder at the solicitations going forward to decide whether or not this is something I want to keep collecting or not. It's not bad. It's just not what interests me. The flavor of what's there isn't what interests me. Earth 2, issue number, what is this, 21. Some crazy stuff happens in this thing. We get some pretty awesome fight scenes. You get to see Superman rip off a giant's arm and beat them with the bloody end of it. That's pretty crazy. The 1%ers get their just desserts, I guess, in this book. I mean, I would assume that there aren't very many 1%ers left in the world anymore after what happens in this issue to all of them. Exciting stuff happens, but we don't actually get to a clenching point here of this is what's going to go on. Superman, the evil Superman, does find out there's another Kryptonian out there. See what that's going to be like. That could be crazy. I figure next issue things are really going to start amping up. They'll have to start taking charge of stuff, otherwise the story starts to feel like we're going nowhere with it. But so far there's been some great dialogue in here, some wonderful dialogue between the Jimmy Olsen and Aquawoman, which are fabulous in it and stuff. It's still a really exciting issue, really exciting book ever since ever since Tom Taylor got on the book. It's been excellent. It's probably one of the more exciting DC books that's out right now, as far as, you know, being kind of a team, big, and feeling like something giant is happening. And even though that giant thing is happening, it's still really enjoyable, because it feels contained, and it feels like it's doing what it needs to do. So that's really exciting, and makes for a really great book, as opposed to some of these other Justice League type books I talk about, where everything's just clugging along and nothing's happening. Forever Evil, issue number 6, issue before the end. Everybody's talking about this as a much better issue and whatnot. I think the reason mostly that is because we can see the end in sight. You know, there's one more issue left, thank God, of this whole Forever Evil thing. I'm a bit irritated personally. This was way too easy. The guy with the bag on his head, you know, me and Mr. CDC MP, I believe, were talking about this after, you know, and heck, I think even in Trinity War, when we see the guy that they've got captured with the bag over head, you know, who could that possibly be? And we pretty much said who it was. Granted, this version of him is different than a version we've ever seen before. That is somewhat interesting, that who he is in this, and how crazy and how dynamic he is. That is interesting, but otherwise, you know, you get this, you know, Nightwing's tied up to a doomsday machine that can't be shut off. It's a giant bomb that the only way it can be stopped is if he's dead. Obviously, it looks like Lex Luthor kills him in some sense. Does that mean he's really dead? No. I mean, how easy is it to suffocate him until he's dead, pull the machine off of him, and then resuscitate him? In a superhero comic, that doesn't seem that complicated. So, yeah, whatever. And I have to also say, talk about this on the roundtable this last week. Of course, this is a David Finch book, so of course I'm immediately drawn to looking at what David Finch's women look like, because rumor has it he's going to be on Wonder Woman. Every woman in this thing has the exact same face, the exact same mouth. So frustrating going forward as far as that goes. If you collect this book and don't know what I'm talking about, just look at the women's faces through it, and you'll see. You'll be able to see. Kind of a bummer. Looking forward to that being done. Green Arrow, issue 29, Outsider War, book 4. I'm enjoying this book. I mean, the art always is magnificent. That's the biggest selling point about this thing, is the art in it. Crazy stuff's happening. The pure clans are moving forward. They're going to take over Europe. They're going to have absolute terror, release sarin gas, and who knows what else all over Europe. And then they're going to swoop in and seize power between their actual physical forces and the dummy corporation they've created is going to latch hold of all of Europe and control Europe, and then they'll branch out from there to basically kind of control the world. It seems to be the case. We find out that the little girl archer here, Kamiko, she there's some complex stuff going on with her. She finds out she's been lied to her entire life also. Green Arrow shows up, and where the clans are at, there's a huge fight ensues, and it looks like Green Arrow takes a fatal hit at the end of this thing. And it'll be interesting to see how they get around that, because, I mean, he literally has an arrow buried in his frontal cortex. So I don't know how that's going to work out, how he survives taking that arrow hit like he does. I'll be really curious to see. Enjoyable as all heck. Purple cover too. Yay. Jupiter's Legacy number 4. So last issue left off this huge ass cliffhanger of them just having killed basically their version of Superman, killed by his own son and his brother. And they're going to have a plan to potentially take over the world and make everything right and great in the United States. So in this issue, 9 years have jumped ahead. 9 years have suddenly gone by. Our 2 runaways, the sister of the son who killed his father to take over, and her boyfriend, son of a criminal, were on the run the last issue. And everybody was chasing to try and kill him. They're still hunting for him, but they're hiding in Australia. They have this child now, 9 years old, and the child is obviously sneaking off and being a superhero, even though I told him not to, and all this stuff and whatnot. We get the exposure of the island, what the island really was, get a better picture of what that is. That's interesting and whatnot. But this 9-year jump and their utopia sucks. They've had huge setbacks. They kind of have martial law, curfews, and all kinds of crazy stuff going on all over the place. So the world's not this rosy place that Walter, the brother, said it was going to be. And so I'm kind of disappointed. I'm disappointed in this jump. I wanted to see the work in progress, not this after the fact kind of a thing. The story has lost the edge of what I thought was interesting about it. We just jumped away very quickly from the kind of deconstruction of superheroes and what would it be like if superheroes were in charge of the world. We've leaped away from that, building on that. We've jumped ahead far enough that we don't know what happened in between that struggle, that whatever that was. And I wanted to read that story. So I'm fairly disappointed in the fact that that isn't here. That being said, wonderful art in here. There's some scenes in here of the island that really look a lot like Mobius's work. Big, wide open desert expanses with strange glyphs popped out of the sand, kinds of things. Some alien people who all those things really, really lend itself to a Mobius feel to it. I'm sure Frank Quietly's probably a pretty big fan and kind of used some of that imagery and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not too excited about Jupiter's Legacy now. I don't like this jump, that 9-year jump. That's kind of a bummer. One of the books I really did like this week, Loki, Agent of Asgard, issue 2. Really fun book. Loki is wonderfully charming. There's some really funny parts in here of him talking to the All-Mother. He goes on this speed date. He runs into this woman who can't be lied to. There's something about her she can't be lied to. So that's interesting for Loki to sit down and talk to because, right? He's the trickster god of lies. But he can't lie to her. He can try and lie, but she knows, and she just seems to be a normal human. But they show that she can check. She knows all the lies that all the guys are saying on these speed dates and whatnot. So he tells her a story about how he goes about capturing this sorceress who the All-Mother once brought back to Asgard. Wonderful story. Not a great cover for this book. Art inside is excellent. And yeah, Loki's just really charming. He's a good mix of older, but still has some of the feel that the Loki from Young Avengers had. So it's just a really, really enjoyable book. Very, very happy with it. Marvel. Number 1, Moon Knight. Another excellent, excellent book. Some of these number 1s that have come out from Marvel here recently have been some really great books. This is an excellent book. I really enjoyed it. I'm a Moon Knight fan anyway. I like this new take on it. I love this first issue. If you don't know Moon Knight and you have any curiosity at all, this would be a book to pick up. It does a very good job of encapsulating very quickly this is who the man is. This is what he's been in the past. This is what other people have had opinions on him in the past, and kind of cinches it all together, kind of laces him up to not be crazy potentially in this one, but that he is just displaying aspects of the Egyptian god that has kind of taken him over anyway. So that's all really fascinating. I love this new look. In this issue, he's wearing a suit, all white suit, even down to having little moons for his lapels. And it's just really great. He's solving a crime, which he does in this one single issue. And at the end of it, we had this really bizarre talk where he is talking with the Raven gods, I think. I don't know, the moon gods. Really kind of interesting. There's some mention about maybe there was no hook in this. There's no story hook that's pulling you forward, of some plot. You're right, maybe not, because it gets solved in this one issue, but instead the hooks are with the character. Who is this guy? What is he about? We get this basic description of him, explaining the fact that he isn't supposedly isn't psychotic, he isn't doesn't have split personalities and that sort of thing. He has this basically this possession about him. And then at the end, like I said, he sits down and he's having a conversation with some other entities. I think that's the hook. I think the hook is what is this guy about? What, you know, and I think having the character as the hook is way more important than plot. So yeah, really excited. Art was great in it. It's gonna be a fun book. I'm excited to see what Warren Ellis has to say writing it, and art by Declan Cheval and Jody Bellarabin. Awesome. Next up, She-Hulk issue number 2. Of course, we have the continuous problems that I kind of talked about in the last issue of this. There's some art in it that I'm not a real big fan of. I do not like how far apart they make She-Hulk's eyes set apart. It is unappealing. It is one of those kind of things where you know what things look right in nature and when things don't look right in nature. And her eyes set as far apart as they are is unpleasant to the human eye from a purely aesthetic standpoint. It just is. The rest of the art I am perfectly fine with. The stylization of it I think is great. It's got some whimsy to it. It's got some just kind of fun action cartoonness to it. It has panels that play real well. I think it's funny that at one point in here, though, they actually give us a huge close-up of her eyes. I mean, it's a splash page of her eyes. But you know what? You look at this picture, her eyes are proportionally as far apart as what they should be. This is not visually unpleasant because her eyes aren't set too far apart in this picture. So I think it's funny. There, it's fine. There's a couple other places where they concentrate on just her eyes too. And when they do that, her eyes are as close together as they should be. But here, it's not right. It's not right. So, you know, the artist is doing it on purpose. It's not like that's just the artist's style to do that. Because other people, she goes drinking with Hellcat, and her eyes aren't funky like that. So, that being said, wonderful issue. More setup on this issue is kind of like a setup of who's going to be around her, who the cast of characters are going to be around her. She hires a secretary, this wonderful Asian, I'm assuming, woman who's a secretary. She has a monkey that goes everywhere with her. That's pretty brilliant. Just her character, how she deals with stuff. She's going to be a lot of fun going forward in this. She goes and She-Hulk goes out drinking with Hellcat. They get rip-roaring drunk, decide to go do some superheroing and get themselves involved in some other stuff. Jen, She-Hulk, feels sorry for Hellcat, ends up hiring her as kind of like a private investigator to work for her when she needs it. So that's going to be awesome too. It's a charming book. It's another charming book, and I really like these charming books. I'm okay with charming books. Not everything has to be grim and gritty. Lots of fun. I'll keep getting it despite my misgivings with the whole eye set type of thing and whatnot. I still think it's a really enjoyable book. Yeah. Suicide Risk. Whoops. Suicide Risk issue number 11. Holy crap. So Requiem is in charge now of the body that our main character used to be in. He wants to know what's going on. He's obviously not in the right world. He comes from someplace else. He can feel it because he is in tune with the world and all of the forces of nature. And here he has to struggle to make them work. And he knows it's wrong. He knows somebody's messing with him. He starts asking questions. Can't really find the answers. Hunts down his supposed wife, which he knows he doesn't have a wife because Requiem would have a lover, but certainly would never get himself tied into being with a wife. Goes and has this conversation with poor John's wife, who's freaking out because all she can see is her husband acting like a nutbag. So conversation goes on there. He can't decide if she's been duped too, like he's been duped into this new world. By the end of it, he decides that she must be playing the game too and not that she's duped. He starts to get physical with her. Lo and behold, the daughter shows up to visit mom. We know she's got powers because a couple issues ago she had tore a hole in her bedroom and had to fix it. She gets here, she's pissed off that the guy that looks like dad is jacking her mom up. She blows the doors off of everything, knocks Requiem to the ground, knocks everybody to the ground, and says, "You want to fight? Fight with me." And that's where it ends at. But pretty damn exciting. Really, Mike Carey is really giving us a really interesting story. So not what I expected, as I've said for probably 10 of the 11 issues that have come out. Not what I expected out of the book, but still really interesting and really cool, and just nice to read a kind of superpowered book that's got nothing to do with anything else, but has some interesting stuff going on and not just walking down the same tropes as most superhero books do. So great stuff. And finally, Swamp Thing issue number 29. The universal groan. Oh, Swamp Thing's being tricked out of his powers again. Is every plot going to be Swamp Thing getting tricked out of his powers? It's a good question. Is that what's going to happen? Not sure. It kind of looks that way right now, as people are walked off with his body by the end of this thing. Curious though that it's people that he trusts kind of screwed him. Did they not know that this was going to happen? So that's interesting. I think the more interesting thing right now is Wolf and Lady Weeds have gone AWOL from the plantation and are setting up their own power base. And what's that really going to be like? And I'm curious. Nobody on the round table last Friday seemed that curious. So Lady Weeds is sitting in a tattoo parlor. The tattooist is going, so you have no other ink on you anywhere, and you want this big massive thing. Are you sure you want to do that? I mean, that's pretty radical to go for your first tattoo to be this big giant whatever, and it's going to hurt like crazy. And she's like, I don't care if it hurts. Let's do it. What's that tattoo going to be? I want to know what that tattoo is going to be. Somebody out there have a conversation with me. What do you think that tattoo is going to be? I'm curious. Anyway, really curious about that part of the story. That's the part of the story I think is going to be really interesting right now going forward. But you're right. I will agree with everybody. They need to find a different story beat than everybody continuously screwing Swamp Thing out of his powers, because that's going to get old. But anyway, I still really enjoy it. The art is still awesome. I think it's Jesus Reyes. Jesus Reyes is an awesome artist. Should always be on a comic book. The dude should never be looking for work. Anyway, great stuff. And that is it. Have a great one, everybody, and I'll see you next time down the road.